Blog Talk Radio.
Enough. Welcome to Desperate House Witches. Happy Saturday. It has been a good week, has it not? Desperate House Witches is not a G, PG, or even an R-rated show, so bad language, bodily function, dirty talk of any kind might offend you. This is not the show for you, but that's why you tune in, and I know it. Desperate House Witches is brought to you by the amazingly wicked one herself, the incredible Dorothy Morrison. Please check out www.dorothymarrison.com for all of your Dorothy Morrison needs. That's www.dorothymarrison.com. And if you are looking for Wicked Witch Mojo products, please check out your local retailer who handles such a business as that. I am so excited. My friends, who I have not had a chance to speak with on the air in a bit. Wow. Lady Thalestris, the founder and High Priestess of the Temple of Hecate in New York City, also known as my friend Laurie Bizzarro, who is a fantastic lawyer. We are going to have a great conversation. Thank you so much, Laurie, for coming back on the show. I so appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I love coming on your show. It's a beautiful week, too, to have this radio show and talk about politics.
Yes. Things happen in a fortuitous manner. You were scheduled previous to this, but Blog Talk Radio was giving me issues from an engineering standpoint, not from a show standpoint. But they've gotten it back together. Everything is working out. So, yeah, it just happened to be perfect that I get to talk to one of my favorite people who happens to be a lawyer all at the same time on the show today. Holy shit. First of all, more importantly, how are you? Your vacation looks beautiful. I was so jealous.
I don't know. Every year I try and hit Turks and Caicos now, and there's something so spiritually healing about those waters and the sunset, and with the crazy hustle and bustle of New York, I need the break at least once a year. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good.
I'm so glad, and I'm glad you're back safe, as I'm sure everyone else is, too. But, yeah, your pictures were – I was so jealous. I'm, looking at the pictures thinking, I didn't get a fucking invite for this. What the heck?
Well, you are most welcome. Next year I'm going to try and get a group together, and you're welcome. I think it'd be really cool to do ritual on the beach. I think we should get a good big crowd together. Do ritual at sunset on that beach.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I'm thinking. That sounds great to me.
Okay.
I won't quite be retired yet, but hey, listen, I have days off. It's okay. But no, but all kidding aside, that you've always been really open, really giving. I wanted to personally thank you on the air. What folks don't know is that when I was having a really hard time trying to figure out things with my mother, this wonderful person was my sounding board from a law perspective. And, yeah, you're amazing, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate your advice and how much it helped me and got me through some of the stickier portions of things when Mother was still alive. So thank you so much.
Aw, you're most welcome. Anytime you need anything, because you give so much to the community. You deserve to get back as well, so.
That's super kind of you. I really do appreciate it. But before we launch into politics, I want to know what's going on at the temple and what you guys have been doing, because it just seems like every time I check into the page, the temple's bigger and bigger and bigger. What is happening?
Yeah, we discussed this before about how we had been practicing in person in New York, and then when the pandemic hit, we were forced to, like most people, to go via Zoom, and that opened it up to, you know, the temple being approachable by the entire world. And I find that in this kind of like, you know, mechanical mechanism here of Zoom, that we are able to kind of expand our magic. And I find that it's almost more powerful. It's more mind-bending, and you know, you're now working with people all over. And if you look at magic, you know, the spread of magic like a big grid. You know, we're covering a bigger area. People of different places and cultures and ideas, and it's amazing. So we have a really great crew. It's like, you know, about 30 people now. Who are the core group, and then of course when we do our open rituals, we practice every week. We meet, and then we have open rituals twice a month. The closed rituals are used for instruction, and we give other people in the temple an opportunity to kind of work out their technique and to practice acting as the high priest or priestess for the particular ritual. And it's great. I mean, it's like a big family. And the consistency, I'm all about consistency as far as priestessing is. I like when people show up and participate. Our magic gets tighter, like a band, you know? The more you meet as a band and practice, the more tight your music is. And also it's just, you know, your magic's stronger the more you practice it. And we have, you know, an agenda. We're all on pretty much we are on the same page politically, all of us. So not that that's a requirement, but I think someone would be hard pressed to be a Trumper and be a part of our group. So, you know, we're a tight knit group. We're gonna meet every Samhain. We meet and we do our initiations and elevations. But the exciting news is that we are doing public rituals now that the pandemic's over. We've been invited to do many public rituals. We're doing one in Salem, June 29th, for David and Maria of the Hermetic Arts Learning Center. And that's going to be, so I'm doing like a little lecture on Hecate, being a Hecatean ritualist, and then the temple most people from the temple are coming. They're very excited, and we're going to do a ritual for everybody there. And then in July, we've been invited, there's a vampire conclave that we've been invited to do a ritual there in July. So we're kind of rocking and rolling, and we love it. Like, this is what we do, and it's like, yeah. So that's what's going on with the temple. And we're growing, and we love what we do, and we invite people to come. The best way to see if you'd like to be a part of the temple, and if we, you know, also like you for, you know, the general you know, whoever is out there, is to come to a ritual. Just come, you know, show up online, wherever you are in the world. You're welcome. And, you know, check out the vibe and see if, you know, it's a good match. So that's what I always suggest to people.
And that's so brilliant and lovely that you offer that online. And I do remember prior to the pandemic when I would be so jealous and upset because, you know, I'm from New York and I don't live there anymore. Therefore, I felt very cut out. But I always feel so included now. I mean, I know I'm not there often because of my crazy day job schedule. But the knowledge that I can just drop in and know that I'll be welcomed is so lovely and inviting. And you don't get that from a lot of groups. As a matter of fact, you get that from very few groups. So, you know, the fact that you do it and you open it up that way is just so wonderful and just expands the things that back in my day we hoped for, was that we could reach more people, but we don't proselytize. We just, you know, be available to the people who want the information, who want that kind of relationship. Because there was a time it was very difficult. You had to really find someone face-to-face because we didn't have the internet. I mean, there's just so many things now that have made it so much more inviting and welcoming. And the fact that whoa, hey, dude, no, we ain't doing that. What the hell? You know, okay, so I got to say, not for nothing, but the opening music was not music I had ever selected. And I've had these conversations with people about changing the music, and they're like, well, you really can't change the music, but you really need to have less of it. And I'm like, really? I can't just change it? No.
Why
but
can't you change the music? You can do whatever you want. You know, you're the grand poobah of this thing.
That's true. I am the poobah. But the fact of the matter is that will it throw people off if they don't recognize the music? But we'll take a poll. We'll find out.
Okay.
Now,
poll is a great way.
Now I just cut it off. Now it's like, okay, you heard a few bars. You know where you are. I can stop that now, you know, because it's just I was not the person who picked the original music. But anyway, but going back to what we were discussing, you know, when the world got really small for a lot of us, it also expanded at the same time during the pandemic,
right?
Because we had the luxury of Zoom, and I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, I can't do it that way," and it's like, yeah, you can, if you want to, you can. But that leads me to a question that I had for you. And I've seen a lot of folks doing stuff online, especially surrounding the Trump thing, for lack of a better term. Orange Julius, the Orange Turd.
Oh, God,
so many names. But, you know, I've seen a lot of people working on ritual, and I've seen a lot of people saying, yay, we did it. And I want to know from the perspective of a priestess first, what are your thoughts about, you know, people doing these very long, extreme, long-distance working to make things happen? Do you think the community had a lot to do with the fact that there were these, 34 convictions is that's a pretty good number right there. I will be honest with you. I wasn't even expecting them to get half of these convictions. Do you think that deity is with us on this? Do you think that the push of all of these magical practitioners had anything to do with this outcome?
I'm sure it did. I do think that magic can affect the outcome of anything. I mean, that's why we do what we do, is the belief that we can affect change and conformity with the will, you know? And, I mean, I also think, though, that magic flows with justice. And I do believe that this trial was a just outcome. I can't tell you. I can tell you, and I'm sure you know how happy. I mean, when the verdict came in, I don't know what news station it was. Maybe CNN was like, they were standing outside the courthouse, and the reporter was there, and she said, "Count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty." Like up to 34 counts, and I was like, I should make a rap song about use this as like a song. Like, it was so joyful. I was like, and I was concerned. I have concerns. You know, I'm concerned about, more than concerned about the election. I was concerned that even though, I forgot that Hillary took Manhattan by like 98%. You know what I mean? So, like, they hate him in Manhattan. But Manhattan does have some very wealthy Republicans in it, of course. And our jury pool in Manhattan, and as an attorney who's a trial lawyer, I was concerned about Manhattan because even though they did not like him, you know, like Manhattan has shown that they're not a fan of Trump. We do have some wealthy people who are Republicans there. I think on the jury there was like an investment banker, there was a couple corporate lawyers, and I was like, you know, like, I don't know how that's going to play out. And when initially they did not come right back with a verdict, I was like, okay, they're going to get lunch. Because the funny phenomenon in New York is that the jury will have lunch and then give a verdict. Yeah. Like, it's, I don't know if they think, like, well, we want to get our lunch out of this, you know? Like, they get their lunch and they'll always come back. It's a funny phenomenon. It's very strange. It's like they can't give you a verdict before lunch because it's like they want to get their free lunch. I don't. It's just a strange phenomenon as a trial lawyer in New York. So the other, I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I do know that a quick verdict is better for the prosecution, or, you know, I'm a plaintiff's attorney, civil litigation, so for the plaintiff. It means that the jury, you know, 1, 2, 3, like, figured out what you were trying to say to them. They agreed with you. It's better for plaintiffs or for prosecution to come back quick. Now, when they took over a day, or they, like, you know, they went into the next day, I was like, ooh, that means, and they started asking questions. That means that they're, in my experience, it means that they're confused by something, or somebody's holding out, and that worried me. I was like, oh no, like, we got a holdout?
I know. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was afraid of. Oh my God.
Well,
I'm like,
but then the joyful moment when they were like guilty on all counts, I was like, holy moly, they hated him. Like, you know, New York came through. Like, they hated this guy. Like, and we always thought he was, as you know, you're a New Yorker. Trump was like a joke. Yeah. He was like that guy, you know, like, oh God, Donald Trump, you know, like pampered boarding school jerk off, you know, Donald. Yeah. We didn't hate him because there was no reason to hate him, really. It was just kind of like, he was a New Yorker, you know, like, I don't know, we have characters in New York, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then look what happened. Now, I'm concerned. You know, this trial and the results. I deleted most of the Trumpers off my Facebook page and my social media because I just couldn't have the stomach for them. I've got maybe 1 or 2 people I know from, you know, Bay Ridge who, you know, I've known a long time, and we've agreed to not even touch the political, you know, side of things. So, but another friend of mine kept them on. There's a majority, you know, she kept a lot of them on her page, and she said that they were all posting, after the trial, they were posting the American flag upside down. And I'm like, these are the same motherfuckers. These are the same motherfuckers who are angry, okay, that someone took a knee. You know, remember, like the whole, you know, in protest, and also to bring notice to Black Lives Matter. They were taking a knee, all these sports professionals. And they're like, oh, that's disgraceful, taking a knee during the you know, okay. Now you're going to put the flag upside down for some piece of shit? You know, that's what makes me angry. It's like you're going. So now now it's okay to disparage the flag because it's for this piece of shit who sits on a gilded toilet and could give 2 fucks about you. Like, that's what makes me angry. It's a cult. And now I'm hoping that a majority of people in this country, like, see how just crazy he is, like they did the last election. I mean, the Dems had it together. They made Biden run because they knew Biden was a moderate Dem. He could shake hands across the aisle. He has like, he's been doing this a long time, and he has an investment. Republicans know him. They trust him. Yeah. They did, but I don't know what's going to happen in this election. I'm hoping common sense rules again, but it's scary. It's very scary, and I don't know how.
I'm with you.
The Dems need to control this cult mentality somehow, or combat it, and I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do that. So
usually when things like this happen in a cult setting, only from the things I've observed, I am no expert. But what happens is something happens from the inside that starts to worm its way out, and it winds up destroying itself. That's why there are so few that are that actually maintain success for any real long stretches of time.
Right.
Because something always happens. Somebody always outs somebody. My hope is that enough Republicans who said, and several Republicans said, we need to see what happens at the trial. Well, okay, now you see what happened.
Right.
He was not convicted by some outlying section of New York. He was convicted by a jury of his peers. He is a New Yorker. Right. Folks in Florida, you can't really claim him because we unfortunately own him. So
speak for yourself. I will gladly give him to Florida. They can have him. DeSantis, all those guys in Florida, they can have him. Let's just have him.
No,
it's good.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. They can have him, but he is originally born and bred in New York. As a matter of fact, I lived not far from the family in Queens. So, yeah, I mean,
oh, God.
So I do. I know. But it was fine. I mean, my parents were Pentecost. My parents were Republicans. My mother was a die-hard Trump supporter, as my father would have been had he still been alive. It does not. It cannot surprise or faze me now, because now that I've been reunited with the rest of my family, all of them are liberals. So I feel very vindicated now that my parents are gone, that I have so much support, not only for my liberal views, but for my pagan views as well. So I've been very, very, very well blessed. Sometimes people have to die for good shit to happen. I'm just saying. I'm not naming names.
That's true.
Sometimes
that's true.
It works out that way. I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
I've been lucky in this regard. But anyway, my hope is that the people who said that they could not support him if he had been convicted will hold to that and do the right thing. Now, even if it just changes a few percentage points of his support, that could be enough to sway the election. So I am very hopeful. But to see him disparage the judicial system, to see him disparage things that, as Americans, we believe in, that the law should be meted out equally for all of us, and that no man is above the law, no person should be above the law. The fact that he stands at a microphone and starts talking about it was rigged, when he loses, it's always rigged. I hope that people recognize the fact that they are supporting a kindergartner who stamps his feet and gets what he wants and basically rules the home by intimidation and fear. We cannot abide this kind of person in a power of leadership. What do you think could possibly happen to the rule of law if, God forbid it, Great Mother, don't let it happen, that he would become president again?
I can't even imagine what would happen to our country and the devastation if he should become president again. In his first go-around, our Supreme Court radically changed in a horrible way. The results we haven't even begun to see yet, except for the issue of choice. So I have so many thoughts on the devastation to women and the reaction or non-reaction of the people in our country. It's interesting to me. It's sad. It's sad. It's disheartening. As a woman, a 53-year-old woman, and 53 years in this lifetime of understanding what oppression of women is, learning from my elders what they went through. I'm a sexual harassment and a sex discrimination attorney. That's part of what I do. Yeah. So I'm looking at the history, how hard our foremothers fought for the right to choose, and now we're beyond back to square one. Cattle in Texas. I bring up Texas because they're very right-leaning, conservative, Bible Belt. And cattle in Texas are treated better than women are in our country. I mean, because if the prize cow in Texas, a rancher had a prize cow who was in trouble, pregnant, and the pregnancy would have led to her demise, they would abort that calf in 2 seconds. But for some reason, that mentality doesn't apply to human women. I've been a feminist, I think, since I was able to talk. And I see it so clearly, and I am so sickened by it that because I am a woman and I was born this way, I am a lesser human being in the eyes of many people. I have a friend who is an attorney in New York, and he and I got into the subject, and I like him, I respect him, and we got into a subject of choice, and he was sitting there telling me, well, we have to put limits on it. I'm like, why do we have to put limits on it? Like, I'm not sure. So you're saying that I don't have the judgment to know when I should terminate a pregnancy in my own body? And he was like, well, there's some women. I'm like, I'm going to tell you something. There is not one woman on this planet that does not take the time to make that decision and think it through thoroughly. There's not one woman on the planet who rejoices about having to make that decision. And why am I not in charge of my own fucking body?
Right.
Like he this intelligent man was like, who has a daughter and a wife, but doesn't understand autonomy, the simple idea of autonomy. And the fact that this is my body, it's not your body, it's not his body, why can't you, so it really, there's a problem. We have a bigger, we talk about Trump is like the poster child of what's wrong with the country. And I don't understand how he got, I don't know. Maybe it'll all be revealed to us later in time how we can analyze it and figure out how this jerk-off became like the poster boy and like the king of all that's wrong in our country. But it's not him, but it's the idea of him that is really, and he's a vehicle for all the underbelly of like white supremacy, of subjugation of women, of violence, of white straight male anger, of that, and like he allows it. He's given that. It's not him, because if they knew him in reality, they wouldn't feel connected to him. But they've made him into something that he is not at all. But or he is, but he's not that powerful. But it's the idea of him that's powerful. And we have a problem. I don't know what we're going to do, but I think the Dems need to start wagging the dog like the Republicans do. So the Republicans know that if you say something with enough conviction, all the idiots in the world will believe it. So if you're like, it's raining purple elephants, look, and then, it's this mentality that people will be like, oh, yeah, it is raining purple elephants because Trump said so. Like, we need to do that. We need to start putting ads out. We need to get into social media, buying Facebook ads that barrage people, calling him Hitler, showing, and going to the extreme level of like, boom, 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 like ramming it into people's heads that they're, showing him, we could show him as incompetent. Get a clip of him saying something really stupid and keep hammering it over to people. We've got to get clever in our party. And then we've got the idiots, the third party. I'm sorry, but the third party. I'm hearing Jill Stein again. That's making me sick to my stomach. Oh, yeah. Okay. Look, I think what's happening in Gaza, and Palestine is terrible, okay? But that conflict has been going on a long time. There are intricacies to that issue. But and I don't even know if I want to comment on it, but I will say this, that blaming Biden and throwing our election in our own country because you're mad about what's happening in Gaza is not the way. Okay? Yeah. Jewish people are mad at Biden because they don't think he's doing enough for Israel. Very left-leaning, younger liberals are mad at Biden because they think he's not doing enough to protect Palestine and Gaza. And now both sides are going to throw off the election in their own country because they're mad at him? I mean, like, I don't even know what to say about that. It makes me even more angry and upset. I mean, so it throws in. So you're just going to give the election to the Republican, to these like conservative Bible thumping assholes. Trump could give two fucks about Israel. Trump
Absolutely.
could give two fucks about Palestine. He's not
Absolutely.
going to do the things right. I mean, it's just so that I needed to say that because that's something that makes me sick to my stomach. And now in this context of Palestine, the idiot third-party jerk-offs are like, oh, Jill Stein, Robert Kennedy. What? Come on,
No.
you know?
No. No, thank you. No.
Right.
Listen, they say we get the country we deserve. Okay. A lot of people had come to me after 2016 and said, we didn't know. Okay, even though people like you and I told them, they didn't know. Okay, you didn't know.
Right.
You were convinced Hillary was going to win. Well, we wanted Hillary to win, but we didn't claim that it was a sure thing.
Right.
So we knew we had to vote correctly, even if we were Bernie supporters. Right. Or no matter who it was we were supporting, we knew enough that you have to sometimes put aside personal feelings and do what's right for the Republic.
Right.
Period. If we're going to go down that road again, and people are going to be that, then maybe as a country we do deserve what we get, because apparently men still have, and people still have, the absolute worst inclination, not all people, not all men. I'm talking specifically about Trump supporters, because he feeds into all of their horrible impulses, the need to control women, the need to look at women as property, and to look at women as though, you should have a say if you somehow manage to fertilize an egg, even though it is the woman that will carry this child, whether or not she wants to, depending on how you decide it out. Have you noticed that the birth rates have dropped precipitously since Roe v. Wade got gone?
I haven't looked at any of those statistics, but
I'm going to tell you that people are having sex less often. From a statistical standpoint of how many people are actually having children, we are going to be at a point, they are trying so hard, it's having the opposite effect. Everyone is trying so hard to make sure that women continue to populate the country, that now they're just not having sex, or they're taking extra precautions. Birth rates have fallen. Normally, I mean, if you're a child of the 70s, 60s, 80s, and you're from New York, you remember that after a blackout where the power was down for any number of hours, definitely over 24, we had a boom in birth.
That's true. That is true.
Well, I'm going to say this about the younger people. The younger people know that if you don't have choice, they don't want to take risks. We are going to have it's going to have the opposite effect of what the Republicans want. When they cannot create enough soldiers for their minions to take over and totally Christianize this country, they are going to be very disappointed at the fact that their minions are dwindling in epic proportions. And I just think anytime you try to put that kind of control on another human, listen, whatever it is you actually believe in, if you believe in anything at all, the fact of the matter is that we don't own each other. We never should have. We never should. It should never be a thing. You gotta let the world grow, and the resistance to that is so ridiculous and so oppressive. And the fact that he does feed into every shitty male impulse, I'm sure for some women he does as well, but it seems to be that mostly incel, couldn't get laid without money, couldn't get, definitely not a looker.
Oh, he's a rapist. He's a rapist. He's a multiple accused rapist.
Multiple accused.
His own wife in her divorce papers accused him. She made fun of his hair, and he raped her. This is the guy that was elected president. Young girls, a 13-year-old, accused him of rape in court papers. Accused him of raping her. Of course he's beyond a misogynist. He's like a abuser of women. He's everything that should be, the opposite of what we want in this country. So I'm on the same page with you.
Yeah, it's frightening. I have to hope that good people will continue to fight back. I have to hope that people vote. And that's really the crux of it. We have to vote in swarms. We have to vote at huge rates, bigger than ever. Because you know as well as I do, every time he loses anything, it was rigged. That is his go-to. Right. That's his default position. He never takes blame for anything. Very similar to my own father. Never took blame, never was wrong. Women were beneath him, and women were there for use. And I can't even bear the idea of him being given power again. I'm seriously hoping that those who said that they would not vote for him if he got convicted will hold to that and keep that word. Because when you give in to a bully, the bully just grows and becomes more powerful and more scary. And there's going to be a point where that call is going to be coming from inside the house, because they do eat their own. They do absolutely eat their own. They're ruthless and, cannibalistic, and it's amazing. Right. We can't, as a country,
I don't know when that moment will occur. Well,
it's happened in spurts already. When you look at the fight in the House for Speaker of the House, how many times they had to vote on it, and now MTG wants to get rid of Johnson, and it's just this never-ending contest of who's the biggest asshole in government. And I got to tell you, the Republicans are winning as far as the asshole contest. They are winning.
Yeah, but the issue of Trump, when will Trump have his downfall? I think because he's iconic. He's become larger than the issue now. So I will be curious to see what does cause his downfall. It may be his death, actually. That's probably the simplest and only, solution for what's happening in my mind.
I don't think so. I think, it's so interesting to me because I find Americans are very adaptable. We thought, oh, my gosh, there will never be a black president because this country is so fucked up. And then we got a black president, and it was like, wow, we grew up.
And he was a great president. He was an amazing president.
He was a great president.
Obama.
Absolutely. Yeah. The favorite of my lifetime. Right in front of Bill Clinton, who I had the pleasure of meeting.
I met him as well. I met him and Hillary. Yeah.
Yes. Isn't he? Oh my gosh! I'll tell you what. When you meet him, you get it. You don't get it when you watch him on TV.
Yeah.
The charisma of this kind of a man in person. And then you go to a Trump who not only can't put two sentences together, but has no charisma. Zero charisma. How is this even fucking happening? I am not understanding. Part of me does understand, though, because I do understand that people are still backwards in their thinking. People are still racist. They're still misogynist. They're still homophobes. There's still all of the negativity. And when you have somebody stand up and say, be proud of the horrible things you're feeling, this is why I think he has such a cult following, because he makes it okay to be a horrible fucking person. And some people like that.
Right.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Very
but
terrifying,
hope. I know. But I still have hope. Because, quite frankly, as I said earlier, even if this sways vote just a couple of percentage points, that's enough to sway an entire election. It truly is. But I did want to ask your opinion, because you are a trial lawyer. What are the potential sentencing outcomes that can happen in next month? Because that's when we find out about sentencing, is July. So,
I've thought about this, and I have no prediction, but when I've looked online at people's thoughts, and especially other trial lawyers, brought up some good points. So he's entitled to Secret Service. So how is he going to bring Secret Service to jail with him? Which is an interesting idea. Like, really, these are considerations, So, I don't know. I'd like to see him in jail. New York, hey, they might, New York has come through every time now. Jean Carroll trial and banging him up for a lot of money. And, this trial, New York is not going to show him any mercy. But he may get house arrest, someone pointed out, for 4 years. He may get house arrest, wear an ankle bracelet. I don't know. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I think the point of the conviction was that it is a crime of moral turpitude. It's a fraud. And that word, fraud, and a moral crime matters in many arenas in the law. Like, for example, if you're on trial and you have a plaintiff or defendant in a civil matter, you cannot bring up prior convictions, but you can if they're related to a crime of morality, lying, cheating, stealing, right? Yeah. So I think the powers that be probably knew this, and I think they got him on this type of crime because it will play a part. For example, like, can he be on the ballot in certain states now that he's been convicted of fraud? I think this is where this trial was helpful. It's chipping away. So I don't think, if they were in the ring with Trump, if the Democrats were in the ring with Trump, which they are, but let's do a metaphor, and you have a big, your opponent's bigger than you or stronger than you in some ways, you're not just going to think you're going to just KO him, right? Boom, like Mike Tyson him, 2 seconds, knock him out. You're gonna run around, you're gonna make him turn a lot, you're gonna wear him out, and little jabs and movement. So I think they're thinking this is what they're doing. So they're distracting him from going around the country and acting like king and appeasing his minions. They're taking time. So he's sitting there for trial. That kind of put a dent into his time of campaigning. They also are chipping away at his credibility. I don't know how much that matters to the basket of deplorables, as Hillary said. But what does matter is that this big old, wonderful, tough man, as everybody likes to call him, is not invincible. And they're showing his constituency that he's not invincible. So they're chipping away. I think that's the tactic. So I don't know. The sentencing, I think, is the least of it. Although it would give us great joy to see him go to jail. Yeah, I do. I think the sentencing is the least of it. I think it, yeah. I think, I want him to go to jail. I don't know. Would I get great pleasure seeing him go to jail? Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to get great pleasure when he loses the election. I'm going to get great pleasure when he's no longer able to influence people, however that occurs. So I don't know. They could do jail, but maybe I still believe that's a viable possibility. They could do house arrest. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. We got a month to wait. It'll fly by, and then we'll see. And meanwhile, his resources, his money, his money is now being. New York has siphoned his money. Yeah. New York has, banged him up. I'm curious to see what's going to happen in Georgia. Florida is a lost cause with that judge who's clearly in his pocket. I mean, that's like,
obviously.
I feel like she is, it looks like it. She's, Georgia, they're trying now, they're trying. So.
Well, I think Florida it's a two-pronged thing. I think Florida's trying to beat out the clock so they can't be held responsible for him going down, in addition to trying to run out the clock in case he can be elected and give Florida all his support as he always has. So either way, it's a bad tactic. It's a bad faith move. You don't have anything to stand on if that's the only way you can win is with stalling tactics. It's just ridiculous. But the fact of the matter is, he is still raising huge amounts of money. Stand is that is all going to not his campaign. That is going to all of the lawyers he has to pay, because people have called him out enough so much on not paying people that work for him. He knows the only way he's going to have any chance of even getting an appeal started, just a claim for an appeal, he has to pay these lawyers. So, as usual, Trump is asking for one thing and using it for something else. Apparently, people have not learned their lesson, which astounds me, because he tells you constantly what an asshole and a liar he is, and they refuse to believe him. It's hilarious.
Right.
I'm like, go ahead, Republicans. Throw good money after bad. Go ahead. No. Send him all your money. No, don't just send him a little bit. Send it all. Go ahead. Send it all and see what you get out of it. As I told my mother before she passed many, many times, wouldn't pee on you if you were on fire.
Right.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
My dad was a World War II veteran and a lifelong Republican, and he passed in 2018, but so he was able to vote the first time that Trump was up for election. So my father, who was a lifelong Republican and a World War II vet, an Italian guy from Jersey, thought Trump was a buffoon. He actually said he's a buffoon. He's like, I've never not voted Republican in my life, and I'm really at a loss here. He ended up not voting for Trump. So I think that, as we saw with McCain and Cheney and, some of the Republicans, though, and Mitt Romney. Oh, who knew that I'd be extolling the virtues of Mitt Romney at any point?
Seriously.
Right. Bush, who knew we'd be like, oh, Bush. This whole, scenario has just turned this upside down. But a lot of the Republican families who are savvy are like, who is this turd? Republican, Democrat. We used to like chide each other. It was like a constant battle, but it was like there was some honor in the battle. And now it's like, you saw, I can't think of, was it Marjorie Taylor Greene? And one of the representatives got into it, and the whole comments were thrown around about butch body.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm glad for the clap back. I am, because I'm a Democrat. I'm like, yeah, I'd clap her back. But what happened to us? We look like assholes to the rest of the world, that we're slinging mud and in our own political sanctity. It's like, come on, what happened to decorum? I mean, and we should have decorum, that legislative body is the highest in our country. It's like, and we look like idiots. We look horrific. It's just, it saddens me. And I know that the worst is yet to come. When he loses, as a witch, I need to speak positively. When Trump loses, it'll be mayhem. We really need to prepare ourselves for the mayhem that will ensue, because there is a revolution and a civil war that probably needs to happen in this country with the factions that we have. I don't know how we're going to prevent that, but these are people who are indoctrinated on both sides who really, obviously the left-leaning side is more, their goals and their aspirations are noble, but we have people who vehemently feel one way or the other. We have white supremacy, which needs to be eradicated. So I can't see it being calm after he loses. I can't.
I agree with. I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think, sometimes the earth just has to start over, and seeing where people have gone in their minds, and how even people on our side have taken such a radical stance on things without even having all of the information. I've always considered myself a very proud liberal, but they're shitting all over the word, and when feelings become fact and rational thought goes out the window, we're all in trouble. So I would even say to my liberal friends, be careful how far you're willing to go. Don't lose your common sense in light of your anger. And I would say the same thing to Republicans. Don't lose your sense of reality, your what you know to be good and true. If you are a Bible follower, I would encourage you to read the Bible and not just listen to somebody behind a pulpit, because that person is not necessarily telling you the truth about what's in that book you say you love so much. From what I remember Christ's teachings, having been brought up in the church, love was the whole of the law, as love should be. Love does not mean you make decisions for other people. Love does not mean you get to decide who lives and who dies. It means you do the best you can in your own world, in your own sphere of influence, and you do things as honestly as you can. And that's all it really means. And I hope people will go back to the basics of whatever it is they believe, and recognize that it all starts with you as the individual. And I hope folks will think about that as opposed to this mob-like mentality of that cult of personality. I love Joe Biden. Was he my first choice to run again? Not really, because let's face it, the gentleman is old. And it's not that I have an ageist opinion of anyone. I'm in my 60s. But it's a hard job. It is a hard job. And if I'm going to vote, which of course I'm going to do because it's my right as a citizen and a privilege, unlike in Russia, where Putin is in for the 5th time. Gee, I wonder how that happened. You know, I take the privileges very seriously, and I think everyone should.
Right.
And I just want to encourage everybody, and especially, you know, from the standpoint of the law, where we've seen what happens when a demagogue gets into office and changes the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court ultimately is more important than the president. But even now, the Supreme Court is looked upon as a joke, which is terrifying. Right. That is the seat of our government. That is where laws are handed down and decisions are made final. It is so important, and I keep seeing people talk about presidency. Don't mean shit in comparison to the Supreme Court. So I want you to think about the things that have happened and what could potentially happen to you and people that you love if we get another round of hatred and misogyny and racism. I mean, I can't bear the thought that people are okay with this. I just can't.
Right. I know. Well, we have to do what we can in our own sphere. Social media, which has become very important. It has. I mean, so posting on our own social media, our positions, not being afraid to express our positions, educating people. I see Jason Miller a lot, and I commend him for this. He will explain why he has a position. You know, he talks about why, you know, X, Y, and Z, and he does it in a way. First, he puts himself out there, which is commendable, and we should do that. You should use your influence as an author, writer, high priest, high priestess. You know, you really, I believe in using your influence, and I think some people might be afraid to express an opinion to not offend anyone, but we're way beyond that. So I think expressing yourself, putting it on your own social media, doing it consistently, helping. I just, in Staten Island where I live, we have Nicole Maliotakis, who is the Republican, like, Trump, you know, supporting representative, one of the very few in New York. So I had campaigned for her adversary in the last 2 elections. He won one. Max Rose, he won once, and then he lost the next one. But now I'm already time is flying. We got 6 months out. She's up for re-election. I'm starting to call the Democrats to see who's running, and I'll support them. I'm going to go campaign for them. I'll shake hands, give out flyers, make phone calls. Like, that's where we can help, is on our local level. That's the best way. Like, let's start getting more representatives in the House. Let's educate people. Let's put our money where our mouth is, you know. So I think that's what we can do while we're nervously waiting for the election.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this hour has flown by, Laurie. Thank you so much for coming back on.
Oh, you're welcome.
We're going to have to do this again a little sooner.
Yes, I love it. I love it. You know, I mean, I really enjoy speaking with you, and I think we're on the same page. So, and also just, you know, like kindred spirits. So, thank you for having me.
And again, but thank you for having the temple in New York. Thank you for the outreach that you do. Thank you for encouraging others to find their path. Thank you for being a lawyer. I'm so proud that we have lawyers and doctors and all of the professionals that we have in our sphere. And we really need to uplift them, and we really need to support them. And tell folks how they can find you.
Well, we're on Facebook, the Temple of Hecate, Inc. Hecate spelled with a C. There's some other groups out there. It's not us. So it's the Temple of Hecate, Inc. And you can message me, Laurie Bizzarro, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We have a TikTok page now, so you can find us all over the place. And we look forward to hearing from everyone in her name. Hail Hecate.
Hail Hecate. Thank you so much, Laurie. I love you to pieces, and we'll talk again soon.
Love you too. Love you too. Bye.
Have a great week. Mwah. Bye. She's phenomenal. I just got to tell you, she's a wonderful human being, such a generous soul. The folks at the Temple of Hecate in New York, phenomenal folks. I don't want to start name dropping because I don't want to make anybody mad. But anyway, all right, guys, that's it for this week. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I hope the weather is good where you are. Stay well. I'll see you this coming week with Star Bustamante on the 4:15 and Taliesin Govan in the Pagan's Pageant on Friday. Have the best weekend. Bye.